Alright, we've recently seen how easy it is to add a table of contents to a Word 2007 document, a longer document. And another important reference guide for people working with longer documents is, of course, an index. And Word 2007 also makes this a relatively painless operation. You go once again to the References tab in your ribbon, and then there is an index grouping over here where you have the commands to build your index. So all you have to do is make a selection of text in the document like that, and then you mark the entry. So that brings up a Mark Index Entry dialog box, and you can just do it just with a couple of clicks, or you can be very particular about what gets added to the index. So the main entry, let's just say this is the section on chartering, or the charter, and you can mark it. Bingo. So close, and you can mark all instances of charter if you want to, and then click on close. It adds a little field here, XE and charter. That just means that this is an indexed entry. Charter is that particular word. It also turns on your formatting marks by default here as you're building the index, and you can go back and undo that if you go to the Home tab once again, your paragraph grouping, and do that. But as you build the index, you can build it as you go along. You say, you know what, that needs to be indexed, this needs to be indexed, or you can go back through the document later on and build the index as you can see. Let's say in the second section, the topic of the paragraph here is about, let's just say knights or land ownership, or let's just say knights. Let's mark the entry here. So we're not marking anything in particular. Let's just, main entry is going to be knighthood. And the sub entry may be then barons. What else was in that? Wards. What was in that? Earls, barons. Okay, fine. So also it can cross reference to something else. Cross reference C, barons. So if we don't want to send people to, they're looking up something about knights and we want to send them to the section on barons, that can be done as well. So then we get, again, mark it and close. So cross reference there. Barons, market, sub entry, ownership, or let's just say titling, voting, whatever. So again, mark it and close. Now we've got three different entries here. We've got just a simple entry, cross-reference of charter, and a cross-reference barons, and the sub-entry is voting, and then a cross-reference or an index entry knighthood, and then a cross-reference to barons. So let's see how this is all going to be done when we actually build our index. So now I'm going to do Control End. I'm going to add some space for this index, and then in my index grouping, I'm going to click on this button here, Insert Index. Insert an index into the document. Bingo. That brings up an index dialog box, as you can see here. And what you see in this index dialog box are your index options here. Now, some of these can get fairly complex. What I recommend here is that you just stick to your marks that you've added to the document. You can mark other entries, import an auto mark file. You can modify your index from here as well. But again, what I recommend is that you just stick to something like a template. You can choose a fancy index if you want to, however many columns you need, and then click on OK. So there's the fancy one right there, is that you're going to get an index with, there's your B entries, there's your C entries, and there's your K entries. So those are, if I turn off the formatting marks, here's what people will see. So barons, voting, there's the sub-entry, and that's on page 1. Charter is on page 1. Knighthood is C, barons. So that would send people over here to page 1 to update. These are all fields, by the way, so if I make a change to one of these items here, so let's say charter's on page 1, what if I move that paragraph about that contains the charter information? What if I cut this and I paste it into, say, page 4 of the document? So let's paste it, and so now, of course, that entry has moved. So what is that going to look like in the index? It's going to look like this. Charter's on page 1 still. Well, what I haven't done is I haven't updated the field. So all I have to do is just give it a right click, update the field, and now, as you can see, because those are indeed fields, that charter now correctly appears on page 4. And that's how you index.